Your host, Belle, and the Cannabis Kid. Our show features news, interviews, and all the latest information about anything and everything medical cannabis related in Tucson, Arizona, and the world at large. We'd love to hear from you. Please give us a call live at 646-915-8421. Like us on Facebook, follow us on all social media, or email thtucson@gmail.com. We'd like to thank Tumbleweeds Health Center and Studio C, along with our many sponsors, for hosting our show every week. With the lowest price certifications in town, you'll find hemp products, accessories, and all things related to medical cannabis education. Visit Tumbleweeds Health Center at 4826 East Broadway Boulevard or online at tumbleweedshealthcenter.com. And remember, be smart, be safe, and educate. All right, welcome to Weedsday Wednesday, everybody. Golf clap. How's everybody doing out there? Belle Star here. I get to see Cannabis Kid for lunch. I guess that counts. Sorry, you guys don't. We'll get him in here. Silver Sister, too. And Mary Jane. Whole gang. But it's just me, just for you on Weedsday Wednesday. Yeah. March 18th. And I know you all are waiting for this. How many days until Christmas? 282 days until Christmas, 283 until it's over. Welcome to Weedsday Wednesday. How's everybody doing? What's everybody doing?
Suffer from one of these medical
I did it again.
And have
There
been
you go.
diagnosed
We'll
by
go
an
with it.
Arizona licensed physician, medical cannabis may help relieve your symptoms. Tumbleweeds Health Center is Arizona's premier cannabis certification, health, and education center. Our primary focus is to help the patients of Arizona obtain their medical marijuana card and educate everyone about medical cannabis. With current medical records, approval is a simple process. Contact Tumbleweeds Health Center to see if you qualify for your Arizona medical marijuana card.
Chronic conditions holding you back from a happy, healthy life? Get on the right track with Tumbleweeds Health Center. Our CBD products are formulated to fit your health lifestyle.
I would definitely say that CBD has changed my life. I mean, I don't worry about my dog anymore, and I don't worry about sleeping anymore.
Tumbleweeds Health Center, voted #1 health center in Tucson, has created a proprietary number of CBD blends, each designed to promote health and well-being. Let Tumbleweeds Health Center show you how CBD products might help you improve your life the natural way.
Yeah, did it. Woo! All right. Well, that's odd. Well, we're going to fix this. I'm getting a little podcast set up, so our levels and everything will be a lot better. Let's see. I don't know. They just don't go above 2, so maybe that's just what we got. All right. So there you have it. Give us a call at Tumbleweeds Health Center in the Good Leaf at 520-838-4430. You can check out tumbleweedshealthcenter.com. If you want to do some shopping, get on over to the goodleafshop.com and do some shopping. Come on in for certifications. We are open every day of the week, though we are open for certifications Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can come see one of our wonderful doctors. And if you can't come in or don't want to come in, you can do our on your own cozy couch or in your car or wherever you happen to be, at the golf course. But just make sure you have a clear connection so that you can chat with our doctors via your phone or computer is even better and easier because it's usually bigger and everybody can see better and hear better. But you can chat from anywhere.
if you're in an institution, we do house calls still. We haven't done one in a very long time, but I think our doctors would be open to that if you really want someone to come see you. Otherwise, just fill out the form at tumbleweedshealthcenter.com. There's a little telemedicine section. You can fill that out, and then we will get in contact with you and set up your appointment. And you just need a couple things. You need your driver's license and a picture of yourself. If you're on food stamps, you do need either the card with your name on it. These are state rules. Card with the name on it, or your award letter that just says with your name on it and a current date. People bring in really, really, really old stuff, and that don't fly. So yeah, come get certified. And right now, you can vote for us for best certification. Yay! Where are they? Yeah. Vote for us. Best certification center. Let's do this. We can do this. All right. So check out tumbleweedshealthcenter.com. I think on most every page you can vote. If you want to check out the radio show and blog with us, you can go to the radio section. And I was about to listen to Ann B. Davis as Alice, what her take from, everybody remember, hello, the Brady Bunch? I think they're about to demolish that house for some reason. Someone wants a redo. Just lame. Buy the house for a reason, man. Come on. All right, but today, instead of that, we're going to listen to, who is this? Who is this by? The Institute of Human Anatomy with 8.72 million subscribers. Let's subscribe. Why not? And we're going to listen to what THC does to the body. We might even play some more videos because if this one's good, we just might have a video day. I just kind of feel cozy like that. It's cool, crisp air, got a latte, and my bestie and I decided I should have cappuccinos or add more shots to my latte because you can't taste the coffee in a latte. True. Oh, that's pretty loud if you play it like that. But all right, here we go. So this is what THC does to the body from the Institute of Human Anatomy. Roll.
Yes, there are a lot of people that partake of cannabis products, and so many people have become acquainted with some of its effects, such as red eyes, dry mouth, and of course the munchies. But very few people actually know why these things happen. Plus, there seems to be a debate on whether cannabis products are addictive. So today, using real human cadavers, we're going to walk through the anatomy and physiology behind some of the most common side effects of cannabis consumption. We'll see what structures and systems are actually being affected, and of course, we'll discuss whether or not cannabis is addictive. This is going to be full of all sorts of anatomical and physiological awesomeness. So, let's do this. The first thing we want to understand is that tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, and cannabidiol, CBD, are both examples of what are called cannabinoids. These cannabinoids are found inside the cannabis plant, but there are actually over 100 known cannabinoids. THC and CBD are just the two you hear the most about. THC is the primary psychoactive cannabinoid, while CBD is considered mostly non-psychoactive. These cannabinoids bind to receptors on the outside of cells called cannabinoid receptors. And those receptors are part of a much larger signaling network known as the endocannabinoid system. And there's still a lot we don't fully understand about this system. But one important thing to keep in mind for this video is that there are two main types of cannabinoid receptors. CBD1 receptors, which are found mostly in the brain and nervous system, and CBD2 receptors, which are found in immune and peripheral tissues, although both types can be found throughout the body. What this means is that when you consume THC, it's not just going to your brain, it's interacting with tissues all over your body. And one of the first places we'll talk about is the heart. So here we have a heart sitting in its pericardial sac. We know the heart is this incredible organ that is constantly pumping blood and keeping you alive, but it also can be affected by THC.
When THC is first consumed, it commonly causes an increase in heart rate. But at the same time, THC causes blood vessels to relax and dilate. So even though heart rate may increase initially, the dilation of blood vessels can actually cause blood pressure drops. That means less pressure is pushing through smaller vessels throughout the body. And that brings us to the small blood vessels of the eyes. The eyes contain a very high density of cannabinoid receptors, and the blood vessels supplying the eyes also contain these receptors. When THC binds to them and blood pressure drops, the small blood vessels, especially the capillaries within the eyes, begin to dilate. As those vessels dilate, the vessels will hold more blood. And this is what gives the eyes their characteristic red appearance. And this is also why this doesn't happen immediately. Someone doesn't just consume the THC and instantly has bright red eyes. It takes time for these vascular changes to occur. Another very common side effect of cannabis use is dry mouth. And to understand why that happens, we need to look at what normally keeps your mouth moist in the first place. And those are the salivary glands. Here you can see an example of the largest salivary gland called the parotid gland, which actually translates to the gland beside the ear. Maybe you felt that aching sensation when you eat something sour. Well, you can thank the parotid gland for that. And here we have another salivary gland called the submandibular gland, which is below the mandible. There are also sublingual glands beneath the tongue. But obviously these glands produce saliva, which lubricates the mouth and also contains enzymes that help break down carbohydrates. The key point here is that salivary glands contain a high density of cannabinoid receptors. When THC binds to those receptors, it downregulates saliva production. The mouth dries out. And now would be a good time to address some misconceptions about dry mouth and red eyes, because for a long time it was assumed that red eyes and mouth were simply caused by the smoke itself, this hot, dry air irritating the eyes and mouth. And that explanation seemed to make a lot of sense to many different people. But once cannabis started being consumed in non-smoked forms like edibles, people were still experiencing red eyes and dry mouth, which told us something else was going on. And what's really responsible is not the smoke, because as we just learned, interacting directly with the receptors located in various tissues throughout the body. This is also a good place to point out that the way cannabis is consumed changes how quickly and how long these effects will last. When cannabis is smoked or vaped, THC enters the bloodstream through the lungs and reaches the brain and other tissues within minutes. When it's ingested, it has to pass through the digestive tract and the liver first, which is why edibles take longer to kick in, but often last much longer and can feel more intense at times. But now we need to talk about what is probably the most famous side effect of all, the munchies. And to help us understand what's really going on with the munchies, we're going to take a look at this sagittal head dissection. And you can obviously see some very cool structures here, like the nasal septum, the corpus callosum, the brainstem, and my personal favorite, the cerebellum. But what we want to focus on is this small but incredibly important region here called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus acts a bit like a thermostat for the body, or in other words, it helps maintain homeostasis. It helps regulate things like temperature, hormones, and hunger. And inside the hypothalamus are specialized neurons called pro-opiomelanocortin neurons, which we'll just call POMC neurons. These neurons are involved in satiety, or feeling full after a meal. So when they're activated, you feel full and stop eating. But here's where things get interesting. THC binds to cannabinoid receptors on these neurons, but it also affects signaling inside the neuron, including interactions at the mitochondria. Are the energy producing structures inside the cells, and when THC alters signaling here, it changes how these neurons behave. Instead of producing a normal I'm full signal, there's a release of endorphins that essentially overrides that sensation. The result is increased appetite. Now, a lot of this is still being actively researched, and the exact mechanisms are still being worked out, but the big picture is that THC disrupts normal satiety signaling in the hypothalamus, resulting in the increased appetite. Other hormones are also involved, including leptin and ghrelin, which regulate hunger and fullness. But when people find themselves demolishing an entire bag of chips, this interaction with the hypothalamus is part of why that's happening.
Uh-oh, don't even say it. There's an ad. I'm just muting them. Well, this is really cool information, though. This is a good little video. Oh, we can skip the ad. Skip and action.
We have focused on the acute effects of THC. But with repeated or heavy use, it's important to talk about what can happen over time, because this is where terms like tolerance, dependence, and addiction often get mixed together. THC repeatedly activates cannabinoid receptors, especially CBD1 receptors involved in reward, motivation, mood, and stress regulation. When those receptors are stimulated again and again, the brain adapts. One of the most common adaptations is tolerance, meaning the receptors become less responsive and higher amounts of THC are needed to produce the same effects. In some individuals, tolerance can progress into dependence. Dependence simply means the brain is adjusted to the regular presence of THC, and when use suddenly stops, the system is going to recalibrate. During that period, people may experience withdrawal symptoms such as irritability, anxiety, weakness in sleep, or reduced appetite. These symptoms reflect neurochemical adjustment, and they typically resolve with time. Now, dependence is not the same thing as addiction. Addiction refers to a behavioral pattern in which use continues despite negative consequences with impaired control, craving, addiction. And looking at lifetime risk, population data suggests that roughly 1 in 10 adults who use cannabis will develop dependence or meet criteria for cannabis use disorder at some point. But when cannabis use begins during while in terms of current prevalence, an estimated 14 million people aged 12 and older in the United States met criteria for cannabis use disorder in 2020. And by 2023, that number had risen to about 19 million, representing a significant but still minority portion of overall cannabis users. For additional context, the overall risk of developing addiction to cannabis is lower than for substances like nicotine, alcohol, or opioids, but it is not zero. Alcohol and opioids do carry a much higher risk of severe physical dependence, burden, and mortality. Cannabis falls lower on that spectrum, but that does not mean it is risk-free, especially with frequent use, high-potency products, or early exposure. So no, not everyone who uses cannabis becomes dependent or addicted. Many people use cannabis without ever developing significant problems. But THC is also not biologically neutral. It interacts with real neural circuits involved in reward, motivation, and stress regulation. And like any system in the body, those circuits adapt to regulation. The takeaway here is balance. The endocannabinoid system evolved to function within a certain physiological range. Repeatedly pushing that system in one direction, especially with frequent or high-dose THC exposure, can lead to adaptations that are not always desirable. And understanding where those lines are can help people make informed decisions about its use. One of my biggest goals with teaching in this lab and making online content is to spark that love of learning in people, helping them unlock what they're truly capable of. And that's exactly what Brilliant, sponsor of today's video, has helped do for me. Brilliant turns anyone into a confident problem solver, whether you're tackling math concepts that used to trip you up or...
All right, well, that was interesting. Some very interesting knowledge there. I'd like to hear some more of his videos, actually, on different. Here's one about marijuana in the brain, marijuana effects, how to okay, and then sativa effects. There's some Huberman Lab. Maybe that's where they are. But yeah, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know this person. Or with a grain of weed. I don't know this person. I don't know if it's even an actual company, the Institute of Human Anatomy. I mean, it sounds technical, but once in a while, it's good to just play some videos. Alrighty then. You're listening to Weedsday Wednesday. We're just experimenting with weed things out there, trying to get some news and information.